Have Good Sex podcast featuring me, the Christian Sexpert. I'm so excited that you're back because we are continuing to talk about the different types of intimacy that we can experience in marriage. If you recall, if you've been on my socials, you know that I say there's 13 different types of intimacy we can experience in marriage, and sex is only one of them. A couple of months ago, I had the opportunity to talk with Nicole Lee of Heart and Honey Counseling, and we got to talk about conflict intimacy and how conflict can benefit your marriage. This episode actually originally appeared in my Patreon community. Remember, my Patreon is where I teach all the spicy things I can't teach on my regular socials. And if you want to support the work that I do, bringing you this free education, I would love to have you join the community and learn along with the rest of us. So without further ado, here is the episode with Nicole, and remember to go have good sex. Welcome back to my Patreon. I'm Angela, the Christian Sexpert, and if you are seeing this, congratulate me because I am recording this on a new platform, and it worked, and the recording didn't go into the void. So yay me! As you can see, I am joined by Nicole Lee. She is a licensed marriage and family therapist, licensed counselor, and a certified sex therapy informed professional. As the owner of Heart and Honey Counseling, Nicole is dedicated to helping individuals and couples navigate their emotional and relational challenges with compassion and expertise. With a deep commitment to supporting healthy relationships, Nicole specializes in couples therapy, sex therapy-informed guidance, and overall emotional well-being. Currently in the final stages of completing a PhD in couples therapy, Nicole integrates evidence-based practices with a holistic approach to address the unique needs of each client. At Heart and Honey Counseling, Nicole strives to create a safe, non-judgmental space where clients can explore their concerns and work towards growth, healing, and deeper connection. Whether navigating relationship struggles, communication issues, or intimate concerns, Nicole offers both professional guidance and a warm, empathetic presence to support clients every step of the way. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm so excited that you decided not to dump me. Nicole had I came across her work on TikTok, and I was so excited because she was talking about conflict intimacy, just conflict. And I was like, yes, conflict intimacy. I teach my clients about that. And then she started talking about the 5 love languages, and I was like, girl, because y'all know how I feel about the 5 love languages. And she was like, don't cover me in my comments. You can't be mean to me. And I'm like, baby girl.
I was like, we're supposed to be friends.
I'm like, if you're going to do the social media thing, you want the controversial comments. But also, we need to dump the 5 love languages.
And I did release another video talking about how controversial they are and how there's the dark side of the love languages and how not to use them. So,
yes,
kind of addressed it a little bit.
Yes. But also when I first came across her name, the Heart and Honey Counseling on TikTok, I was like, yes, honey, because y'all know my favorite little parasite is Honey
Baby Bee.
And of course she's going to be here. No, that was not your cue to beg for attention. So welcome. If you guys didn't know, we are going to be talking about conflict intimacy tonight. So y'all know that I talk about the fact that there are 13 different types of intimacy that we can experience in marriage, and sex is only one of them. And you need the other 12 intimacies so that you have good sex, because sex is supposed to be the celebration of intimacy that you've established before you've ever reached the bedroom. So if you are struggling in your sex life, you need to focus on the other 12 intimacies so that you have a balanced approach, and that way that you have something to celebrate once you get to the bedroom. Because if you don't have anything to celebrate, the sex isn't going to be happening. So
not going to be a celebration.
Nope. This is one of the most misunderstood of the intimacies because people are so afraid of conflict. So can you talk about that a little bit? Like, people, I'm sure that you see that a lot as a marriage and family counselor because people are just so afraid of conflict. Why do you think that is? Like, how does that show up?
I mean, talking about people coming for you, I think that is probably the thing that people come at me the most. And you get these people who might be a little protective of their relationship or defensive of their relationship. And always say, like, my number one line is my biggest red flag as a licensed marriage and family therapist is when couples come into my office and say, we never fight. And then people are like, well, we don't fight. I don't fight. And my relationship's great and good. And I'm like, that's great if that works for you. Right. But at the end of the day, people get really caught up in the words and the verbiage and the word fight, and a rose is a rose by any other name type of deal. And I think people are so afraid of conflict or fighting or whatever words they might use. One, it might be like associated with this negative type of conflict that is not productive, could be really detrimental to relationships. And they just never really learned how to fight successfully or productively or fairly. And they're used to, like, they associate conflict or fighting with being attacked or being made to be minimized, manipulated, all of these things that obviously we don't want in a relationship. And so then when we say conflict, we're saying something's wrong. And that's just not what conflict is in a relationship. It might be in other types of relationships in your life, but in your romantic relationship or marriage, that is not how conflict should be, like, introduced or viewed.
Yes. And we struggled a lot in our early marriage because of the consequences of authoritarian parenting in
Yes.
childhood. And I think that's one of the big reasons that we have this generation of adults that fear conflict, because our parents' generation relied so heavily on authoritarian parenting, where it's what I say goes, and you don't have a voice, and I'll give you something to cry about sort of parenting. That no one has learned how to be safe to express a dissenting view in a healthy way.
Yeah.
And that's why in my other life, aside from, TikTok star sex coach, I actually, whatever, stardom. I actually am on the leadership team for an international women's ministry. And part of the reason that I was brought on to the leadership team in the first place is because of my advocacy work for authoritarian parenting, which is also known as gentle parenting or respectful parenting. I know gentle parenting has a little bit of a bad rap right now because people don't really understand what gentle parenting
it actually is supposed
entails.
to be. Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, that's just lazy. And I'm like, actually, no. Authoritative parenting is far lazier than actual gentle parenting.
Yeah, gentle parenting done right is a lot of work.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. It's so exhausting, right? Because for authoritarian parenting, you just spank them for anything and everything.
Yeah. Nothing's learned, no production, nothing's like sorted out.
Like, my 2-year-old is having a tantrum. I don't have to wonder if I have fed them in the last 2 hours. I can just spank them, right? And move on. And that's like the essence of authoritarian parenting, right? The ADHD flips those so often in my head, but it's the bad one, right? But in gentle parenting, like, you have to stop and think, like, oh my gosh, are they falling apart because they are hungry? Are they hangry? Are they tired and hungry? Like,
and I think that's like the key in conflict in general, right? Like, even like, especially in relationships, is like, you're trying to understand the other person, and nobody like understands that. Well, I'm sure some people understand that, right? But like, it's very lost in today's generation of like, well, this person's trying to understand me in conflict. No, like, that is so lost on today's generation. It's this key part of understanding and wanting to understand each other that is such a beautiful part of conflict.
Yes. We had my husband had some big feelings about a situation that happened a couple of weeks ago. And in the middle of it, I was like, This is a disproportionate reaction to this
In here.
conversation.
You okay?
What's going on? Why the big feelings?
Want to let me in
And we
here?
actually,
Like, what's...
yeah. I actually was like, hey, you know what? I'm gonna take a break, and I'm going to like you sort out what's happening, and you let me know once you calm down. And he like we took a break, and I texted my bestie, and I was like, I don't know, he's like hormonal or something. I don't know. He's got his period. I don't know what's going on. And, I blew off my steam, and then he came back, and he was like, here's what was going on. And, the was completely unrelated to it. And, yeah, I did the self-reflection. And I think that's also a part of conflict, is that healthy conflict requires a level of self-reflection that we are uncomfortable with.
And that doesn't mean fault either, which I think is something that a lot of people get confused with too, is if I make myself accountable, that means it's my fault. And that should never come into play with conflict. It's not anybody's fault. It's trying to seek understanding. And this level of vulnerability and this level of accountability, this level of this grander intimacy is just so healing, so rewarding for a relationship. And a lot of couples don't have that without the conflict.
Yeah. Yes. And like this conflict that my husband and I just had, it wasn't about me being like getting the opportunity to be like, you are the bad guy here. Blah, blah, blah. Right? No, I was literally like, oh, I am emotionally sideswiped. I don't know what's going on. I'd love to know what's going on. Right.
And if you were to be the guy being like, you're the bad guy, like, what would that do? What is like the point of that? Right. Like, it just minimizes and it dismisses his emotions. Like, he's clearly having a reaction for a reason. We want to explore that. It's interesting. It should be interesting.
And not to like we said, it's not to like point the finger at him, but like, was there something that one or both of us failed to do that would have set us up as a couple for better success with this type of situation in the future? Right? Can we talk about what happened so that we can avoid winding up in this situation in the future where we're both feeling kind of sideswiped by big emotions that we didn't know were an underlying thing, right?
Absolutely. And like that is when, go ahead.
To be fair, it's usually me that's having the big emotions, so
we all got big emotions, right?
Yeah, I don't want. I mean, think like I'm throwing Mr. Sexpert under the bus because I'm not. Like, to be fair, I'm usually the dramatic one.
But it's also easy to use other people as examples because we're human and we don't want to point it to us.
Right. I mean, but also that was like the most recent conflict is.
Hey, it just happened to work out. Sorry, Mr. Sexpert. But we also do want to like seek that understanding in conflict, right? Because if we don't, we do wind up making those same mistakes again. Not that it's intentional or we're trying to hurt our partner, right? But then we get stuck in these negative interaction cycles that just loop and loop and loop, and it just builds up, right? And it's not about the actual circumstance, it's about the context. It's about what does that mean? And if we're not understanding our partner, we have no idea what's going on. And then that's just continuing to hurt them and continuing to hurt us. And it's just not fun for anyone.
Right. Because the dishes are never about the dishes.
No. Never.
It's not about the
dishes are about I need your help, I'm overwhelmed or something.
Yes. The dishes are about I feel unseen and unvalued.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, the dishes are never about the dishes. And so you guys, at this point, you should probably pause whatever, however you're watching this, forward this to your spouse and tell them the dishes are never about the dishes. We have got to start doing conflict better. And that is getting curious. Oh my gosh, like you're having a really big reaction that feels disproportionate right now. Can we take a minute and figure out why?
who are you
Like,
mad
what's
at?
going on?
Like, because I don't think it's me. And if it's me, that's fine. But like, why? I need to understand. I need to get curious. I want to understand you. And I want you to try to understand me and want to understand me. This needs to be a
Yes.
reciprocal curiosity.
Right. I saw the most amazing Facebook reel this morning. It was actually a coach who was talking about men with a mother wound, right? Because we hear about women with mother wounds, but this was a coach talking about men with a mother wound and how that shows up in their parenting. And she was talking about how there's often conflict between mom and dad because mom is gently parenting the child and the dad gets really angry and says, like, no, you should be harsh. They need you, they have to learn, they have to have consequences. And that brings up a lot of conflict in the marriage because he has this unhealed mother wound because he can't be mad at his mom. It's not allowed. He can't, but so he has to be mad at his wife. And
Hmm.
so the dishes are never about the dishes.
And the wife can very commonly become the mother. And I hate to say it, but that could even travel into other issues because that can have issues with sex. That could have issues with infidelity. Unfortunately, it can very easily spiral because there becomes the second adolescence. And you know what I mean? Like we want to address those things. We
Yes.
want to be a source of healing for our partner so that we're not continuing to make these same wounds and re-injure and traumatize ourselves in our relationships today. We want to be a source of healing for our
Yes.
partner, not another source of trauma.
Yeah, so much. And we also need to be aware of how our trauma creates trauma for our spouse.
Yes. It's like a never-ending cycle. It just like
Yes.
keeps cycling, right? Until
Yes.
something nips it in the bud.
Yeah.
Yeah, like it's not about blame, right? It circles back to it's not about blame.
No.
It's not about it's this person's fault or it's his fault for lying. It's about the function of the relationship. 1 + 1 = 3. It's the partner and then the relationship in between. And if the relationship isn't functioning appropriately, it's going to dump back on either person, right? And if you want your partner to trust you, they need to be able to trust you. That doesn't mean you're not allowed to have a reaction to the partner trusting, but it needs to be a reaction that you guys can work with. It needs to be reasonable and like being able to be talked about and sorted out, or else this partner just feels like I don't even know how to touch that because no matter what, I'm touching the hot oven. I'm going to get burned, and I don't want.
Right. One of the things that I recently said to my son is I had told him, well, this person acted in this way because of this thing from their childhood, and trying to get him to understand the big issue of like childhood wounds. And he said, but that doesn't make it okay for them to do that. And I said, no. But sometimes understanding why someone does the thing that they do gives us the ability to have more compassion for
Yeah,
why they
it
do
gives
the
it
things that
something
we
we
do.
can work with and we can grow from. If it's not on the table, it's not something that we can work with or grow from. If we have understanding, then we can work with that. We can
Okay.
heal, we can grow.
Yes. Yep. And I think one of the things um, for me is when I'm, like in the middle of all that is the reminder that like, yeah, the dishes aren't about the dishes, but like, this is not your childhood trauma. Like this is repeating itself. Like this is you can separate this current situation from your childhood and
Mhm.
look at it objectively. And that
Absolutely.
this episode was supposed to be about conflict, and I feel like it's more about trauma, but the two are inextricably linked.
We're
And so
we're
here we are.
going. We're
um,
tracking. We're going.
Poor Nicole was like, "Is there an outline for this?" And I was like, baby girl, I have ADHD. There, it's all
You
chaos.
did give me
Sure,
some sort of an outline. I mean,
but have we touched it? No, we did like the
no.
first two things, and the first one was I'll do my spiel on the different types of intimacy, and we did that. Check. My viewers are used to it's just all chaos all the time. All right.
It's okay. We're flowing and
So
going.
I do want to hit this one. What's your most unconventional conflict advice?
Advice. So like I guess the unconventional advice, right, is that I don't really have a breakdown of a list of advice, right? Like I think we get really stuck and rigid on so and so says to take a 20-minute break, or so and so says to do this, and all those things can be really helpful. It's like knowing yourself, right? And knowing your relationship. And we can do all of these little different things and try these different skills. And I think that we should explore them. However, what works for the Johnsons is not necessarily going to work for you. And you need to, it's going to be a lot of work of understanding and exploring your relationship that is going to get you to a place in which you guys can have productive conflict. And I think that it is something that will always be worked on. It's not a plus B equals C. That's not how relationships work. Relationships in general have a life of their own. And as we grow as individuals, as we grow in life, we're going to have to be continuously working with our partner on conflict, on how we get along, and things that maybe didn't come up before might come up now. And we need to give ourselves grace and wiggle room in all of that so that we can continue to see our partner and they can continue to see us. And this can be an active effort consistently in a relationship. You're never going to have it down pat.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
As
And
a
that's
late
typically the reaction I get. Like, can't
as
you just tell
a
me like what to do?
as a not diagnosed with ADHD until her 40s woman that was raised in the 80s and had to cope by turning herself into a type A perfectionist.
Hmm.
I want the list, woman. Hand it over.
Yeah, I know. There's just no list. I could give you a list. I will guarantee you it'll fail. If it doesn't work for you, it doesn't work for you.
Okay, well let's flip the question a little bit. What's the worst conflict advice?
To not have conflict at all.
Mm,
Avoid it.
I,
And I've seen like
yes,
a lot of people
that's a
have
good
that.
one.
Like, I'm just gonna go with it. I'm just if you think that thing, that's fine. And I'm just not gonna say anything about it. Well, you just took a step back from your relationship. And the more steps you take back, the more distance there's going to be.
And I think, especially because I serve primarily evangelical women, I
Hmm.
think when I hear that, I am thinking of the fundamentalists, the type who it's if I pray harder, if I submit more, if I suppress my own opinions enough so that we don't have conflict, everything will be fine. Right. And that's what like I hear, oh, we just don't, we never fight, we never have conflict, whatever. That's it's I'm hearing you're repressing yourself. You
Yes.
are, and it's a form of lying. It's a form of
Yes.
lying to your spouse that you just agree with
And
everything that
lying
they're
to
saying.
yourself if you feel like, oh, we never fight. You just aren't
Right.
actually vocalizing and dealing with the issues.
Right. And I think I really want to put out here that I think for me, one of the worst pieces of advice is the don't go to bed angry. Um,
Yeah.
because
So you should just
that like
deliriously fight without
we
any.
did, yes, yeah, we did that in our early marriage. Because so I was so immature when we first got married, and I grew up, undiagnosed ADHD only child, and so I had no inability to be wrong ever.
You had to be right.
Yeah, and like he just clearly did not understand why I was right.
I'll convince him. It's fine.
Yeah, if I just explain it enough, he will understand why I am right.
Hmm.
So we would be up until like 3 a.m. fighting. I'd be like, why did you not understand me?
And I
Like,
think like a comedian did a skit like that, and they're like, "Yeah, you're up at 3 a.m. One person has their boob out, the other person's like trying to
yeah,
wash dishes. Like it's just nothing's making sense anymore. Like you need to be in your right mind to actually have a decent and productive conversation."
yeah. And that is yet another way that the Bible is misused, particularly against women. Right. So, do you have the last one? Look, I'm trying to get back to the list. All right, last one. Do
I'm
you
proud
have
of
any?
you.
You should be. This
I
was like
am.
full bore unmedicated. So go me.
I'm proud.
Cause
You should be happy.
I am because I didn't reorder my medication and now I'm out and I haven't gone to pick it up yet.
The
So
symptom of the ADHD is the not ordering the medicine and then not being able to pick it up.
the amount, like with all of the medication shortage, so not the all three. To be fair, all three of us in this house are ADHD. And we're all on different medications because why would we all be on the same thing?
No, that's
And
too easy.
with the ADHD medications shortages, the amount of executive functioning it takes to order the medication that gives me the ability to executive function is infuriating.
Talk about those loops. Just
Yeah, it's a vicious cycle. So here we go. I think half of my followers are here just for the crazy train. So, all right. Do you, well, welcome to the crazy train. Do you have any resources you recommend for conflict?
so resources are hard, right? Because it's really individual. I mean, I think the greatest resource is your partner, right? They're going to really be able to tell you and do the work to have that insight. I think individual and couples therapy can be helpful to get you guys there. I a lot of times think of, you know, we're all speaking different languages. Even if we're both speaking English, we come from different backgrounds and different perceptions. And it can be really hard to understand each other. And so certain things, couples therapy, individual therapy can help you get that because sometimes we're having a reaction and we don't understand our own reaction. And that can be really confusing. I do like some of the work of the Gottmans with Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse, all that kind of a thing. The Four Horsemen of the Apocalypse can definitely help you structure your communication in a certain way, give you things to avoid. Criticism, contempt, defensiveness, stonewalling. Those are really going to shut down the conversation. So it gives you at least an outline of things to avoid when trying to have healthy confrontation. And the other thing that I don't know is like a real clinical thing, I call it shouting into the void, but it's pretty much when you guys are both trying to be heard and in therefore not hearing each other, right? And so just slowing down that conversation so that you can hear each other. So it's really annoying in the beginning, but I have clients sit in my office and they get super annoyed at me, but it's really productive. Um, and look at each other, eye contact. Also, don't use phones while you're having confrontation, right? You guys want to have intentional and mindful conversation, but looking at each other, eye contact, and being like, okay, so I think what you said is this, right? And what I'm hearing you say is this, and have the other person confirm it. Because sometimes what we're hearing our partner saying is not what they're actually intending to say. And we want to make sure we're talking about the same topic and staying on topic. And so slowing down that conversation is also really helpful to the productivity of it.
Yes, I love that you brought up the Gottmans. Because I was like, is she going to? Is she going to? Because I'm going to if she's not.
Of course.
But yes, the Gottmans are gold star for
Hmm.
this sort of thing. All right. So I ended my email with, we'll see if my ADHD has any contributions. And I think she drove the train. So if
And it was a
you
fun ride.
all, I am always, look, it is always a good time with me. Always. All right. If you all want to get in touch with Nicole, I will put her link in the show notes so that you can follow her social media. I know that you are licensed to practice in the state of Pennsylvania. Do you function as a coach outside of Pennsylvania?
I don't. I'm only working in
Okay.
Pennsylvania right now. I've heard of possibly this thing happening where I could get licensed and credentialed in other states. So I'm looking into that, but as of right now, I'm just in Pennsylvania.
I
But you
know
can find me on my socials.
yes, yes, definitely follow her socials. I
And
have
I have a new
several,
journal out too.
yes. And I will drop the link to the journal. Do you have it? You want to flash it? Flash us,
Uh,
Nicole.
this is story 1 + 1 = 3, you, me, and our relationship. And it's a journal for like individual growth. It gives prompts and relational growth. And if you noticed, there's like no lines. So if you're express yourself better in drawings or whatever, have at it.
Yes, absolutely. All right. So thank you so much for being here and for keeping up with the ADHD. And all right, guys, if you want to learn more about the other types of intimacy that you can experience in marriage, check out my 31 Days of Intimacy. It's a month-long guide designed to walk you through each of the other types of intimacies in very intentional ways. And you can contact me to set up a coaching appointment so that we can work on a plan for developing all of the intimacies in your marriage. And as always, go have good sex.